Jack Clarke, a skilled shoemaker and father of the Clarke family, found himself transported to Sydney in 1828 as a convict aboard the Morley, sentenced to 7 years. After arriving in Sydney, he was assigned to work for a pastoralist in the Braidwood district. Following his release from convict status, Jack married Mary Connell at Mount Elrington. This was where he was employed and where Mary's parents served as free immigrants. Setting up a leasehold in the Jingiras, Jack hoped to sustain his family of 5 children. However, the land proved insufficient to meet their needs. In light of these circumstances, he turned to selling illegal alcohol covertly, known as slagrog, and introduced his sons Tom and John to cattle theft, imparting to them his belief in a specific interpretation of property distribution. The Clarke family's activities escalated as they, alongside their uncles Pat and Tom Connell, engaged in frequent raids on crops and livestock. Operating under the name of the Jerabat Gully Rakers, they garnered a reputation as skilled practitioners of cattle theft and horse stealing, almost like experts in their field. The entire gang, comprised of relatives and close friends, exhibited a high level of proficiency in bushcraft and maintained a considerable arsenal. Their exploits involved the plundering of publicans, storekeepers, farmers, and travelers. Among their audacious acts were ambushes on shipments of gold from Narragunda and Araluan, as well as attacks on coaches traveling between Sydney and the Illawarra region. Their dominion of lawlessness persisted largely unchecked until November 1866. In a triangular span encompassing the Jingiras from Braidwood to Bega, and spanning up the coast to Maria and Neligan, the Clarke gang reigned as a notorious force. On the 9th of April, 1866, the gang targeted Narragunda, launching a raid that left its mark. After halting a group of travelers at Guelph Creek, inflicting gunshot wounds on one, John Emmett, and assaulting another, they proceeded to assault the local store and tavern. They rounded up 40 individuals, taking them as captives and robbing them of their belongings. Amid the chaos, Constable Miles O'Grady and Constable Smythe attempted to intervene, resulting in O'Grady suffering a fatal injury. O'Grady managed to fatally shoot William Fletcher, a recent recruit to the gang, causing the remaining members to flee the scene. On the 1st of June, 1866, the gang descended upon Michel Legault. There, they ransacked the store for provisions and held certain residents captive at an inn. As the gang indulged in drinking, the hostages were eventually released, and after several more hours of unruly revelry and internal conflict, the gang departed from the village. The 9th of January, 1867, marked a gruesome incident when a group of special constables, comprising John Carroll, Patrick Kennick, Aeneas MacDonald, and John Fagan, fell into an ambush near Jean Den Station. The constables were bound to trees and then mercilessly shot, their lives taken. The Clarke brothers were implicated in this heinous act. To send a chilling message to potential pursuers, a blood-stained pound note was affixed to the leader, John Carroll. The gang's streak of good fortune came to an end with the conviction of Tom Connell on the 15th of February, 1867, at Darlinghurst. The charges pertained to the robbery and assault of John Emmett, involving the theft of 25 ounces of gold dust, 2 one-pound notes, various silver coins, and a gold watch. Despite the gang's numerous other misdeeds, including the killing of Constable Miles O'Grady, these matters were disregarded. However, Connell's death sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment upon appeal. In the same month, February 1867, a second gang member, Long Jim Jemmy the Warrigal, suffered a skull fracture in an accident, ultimately leading to his demise. In the late stages of March 1867, the prolonged drought yielded to a deluge of floods, which in turn swept away steam engines, huts, and substantial mounds of earth. Amidst this period, the remains of Billy Scott were discovered on April 9, a man presumed to have met his demise at the hands of his own gang. This event served to diminish the gang's ranks to just 2 individuals, Tom and John Clarke. As April unfolded, a police expedition led by Senior Constable Wright, accompanied by the expertise of an Aboriginal tracker named Sir Watkin Wynne, later known as Sergeant Major Sir Watkin Wynne, embarked on a mission. Following leads, the team traced their way to Jeandene Creek and reached Barry's hut on the Friday of April 26. A confrontation ensued the next morning, resulting in a firefight between the bushrangers and the police. During the exchange, John sustained an injury to his right shoulder, while a plainclothes officer experienced a graze from a gunshot. Wynne also suffered injuries during the skirmish. Amidst the tumult, Senior Constable Walsh urged the bushrangers to surrender, a plea to which they eventually acceded. By this point, the reward for capturing Tom Clarke had escalated to £1,000, and for John Clarke, it had reached £500. Having yielded to capture, the Clarke brothers extended their hands in a handshake of surrender to the police. They were then presented in court in Braidwood before being transported by coach to the port of Nelligen. At this locale, they were confined, shackled to the prison tree. Their journey subsequently led them to Sydney. On the 13th of May, they faced a committal hearing in court, with allegations of having wounded Wynne before their apprehension by Wright, Walsh, Egan, and Lenihan. The reward sum of £1,500 was divided as follows: Wright received £300, Walsh secured £130, Wynne was allocated £120, while constables Lenihan, Wright, and Egan were each granted £110. Sergeant Byrne received £30, and constables Ford, O'Loughlin, Armstrong, Brown, and Woodlands received £15 each. Furthermore, trackers Emmett and Thomas were awarded £7.10 each, and a civilian informer claimed £500, a sum that stood as the highest reward offered until the £2,000 reward for the capture of Ned Kelly. The trial of the Clarkes on May 28, 1867, unfolded in a single day. Chief Justice of New South Wales, Sir Alfred Stephen, bore an evident concern for the issue of bushranging, especially in relation to figures like Frank Gardiner. Stephen played a significant role in shaping the Felons Apprehension Act, a legal framework targeting felons. The prosecution was led by Solicitor General Robert Isaacs, while the defense of the brothers was undertaken by William Daly, instructed by Joseph Leary. Testimony presented during the trial indicated that when Thomas Clarke fired, John Clarke fired immediately afterwards, with the intent to kill and wound the constables. The jury deliberated for 67 minutes before rendering a verdict of guilt for both brothers. Prior to delivering the sentence, Chief Justice Stephen emphasized that the execution of the Clarkes was not an act of retribution, but a necessity for the preservation of peace, order, safety, and societal well-being. Their fate stood as a stark deterrent to others. Stephen enumerated their offenses spanning 2 years. Thomas, suspected in 7 murders including Constable O'Grady's, had committed 9 mail robberies and 36 individual robberies, while John, within a single year, had amassed 26 offenses and a potential connection to the unexplained murder of 4 specials. The attack on the Araluan Gold Escort on March 13, 1865, during which 2 troopers were wounded on Majors Creek Mountain Road, was notable. While Ben Hall, John Gilbert, and John Dunn were primarily involved, speculation circulated about one of the Clarke brothers' potential association with the gang. Daniel Ryan from Murrabura was also considered, though he was largely the 4th member in this event, not a Clarke. This incident was later depicted in the 2016 film The Legend of Ben Hall. Following the death sentences, an appeal was initiated on a legal basis. Due to the limited number of Supreme Court justices, the appeal panel consisted of Chief Justice Sir Alfred Stephen and Justices John Hargrave and Alfred Cheek. The rejection of a new trial by a 2-to-1 majority raised doubts about the conviction's complete validity. An appeal was sent to Governor Sir John Young and the Executive Council. Ultimately, neither the governor nor the ministry opted to intervene in the sentences handed down to the Clarkes. Visits from family members occurred, including their sisters, brother Jack, brought in from Cockatoo Island Prison, and their uncle Mick Connell, incarcerated in Sydney awaiting trial as one of their associates under the Felons Apprehension Act for aiding the bushrangers. This assistance was testified to by Lucy Hurley, the 20-year-old pregnant lover of Mick Connell's brother. On June 25, 1867, Tom Clarke, 27, and his brother John, 21, were hanged simultaneously on twin gallows at Darlinghurst Jail. This marked the conclusion of their terrorizing reign along the south coast of New South Wales, which had claimed the lives of at least 8 individuals, primarily policemen attempting to capture the siblings. Their activities, along with those of other bushrangers, may have influenced Parkes's push for educational reforms. In his campaign speeches of 1867, he discussed the Clarkes and the need for outback schools to combat bushranging. The Clarkes and other executed bushrangers were in large measure the victims of circumstances.